Picture this. You're sitting across from her on a quiet night, the kind of night that feels like it could be the beginning of something real. She's laughing. She's leaning in. Her eyes hold yours for just a second longer than they should. You're thinking, finally, someone normal, someone steady. Then her phone lights up. She flips it face down fast. Too fast. Not guilty fast, not panicked fast, just practiced. You don't say anything. You don't want to be that guy. So you swallow it. You smile. You keep the vibe warm. But later that night, you notice something else. Her screen lights up again. And again. A pattern. Not an emergency. Not family. Just attention. And you realize, in your gut, what your mouth is afraid to admit. You're not competing with another man. You're competing with the idea that she never has to be alone. And here's the part that changes you. It's not even always cheating. It's worse. It's insurance. A pipeline of validation. An exit route. A safety net. My friend, in this market, a backup isn't always a person. Sometimes it's a system. And what I'm about to tell you isn't romantic. It's closer to anatomy. Because modern dating has trained a lot of people to keep doors open, even while they're standing in your doorway. The truth is simple. You can't build trust with someone who keeps an escape plan emotionally loaded. The illusion is clean. If she chose me, she's all in. If we're exclusive, I'm not being compared. If she says, I'm not like that, I can relax. That's the fairy tale men tell themselves because the alternative is exhausting. But here's reality. A lot of people, men and women, carry options like they carry keys, not because they're evil, because uncertainty feels like death to the nervous system. And in a world where attention is infinite, keeping options becomes normal. This is the betrayal men don't talk about. You can be loyal to a bond that the other person is treating like a trial period. You start investing. You start reorganizing your time. You start thinking in months, while she's still thinking in exits. And you won't notice at first because it's subtle. It shows up as just friends, as DMs you're not supposed to ask about, as I need space, that somehow includes constant contact with everyone except you. It's the quiet double life, not another relationship, but another supply, another place to put her attention when your bond gets heavy. And brother, bonds always get heavy. That's what makes them real. Now listen carefully. I'm not here to turn you bitter. I'm here to make you accurate. Because accuracy is how you stop bleeding. Attraction doesn't run on poetry. It runs on brain chemistry, dopamine, cortisol, oxytocin, and on ancient threat systems buried in the limbic brain. There's a part of you that doesn't care about your morals. It cares about survival. And there's a part of her, also limbic, that doesn't care about your intentions. It cares about signals. Signals of stability. Signals of value. Signals of danger. Signals of scarcity. In evolutionary terms, uncertainty is information. Your brain treats uncertainty like a high-stakes environment. That's why casinos make money. That's why intermittent reinforcement becomes addictive. That's why a late text can feel like a drug. Now mix that with modern conditions. Options are visible, validation is instant, boredom is punished, commitment feels expensive. So the nervous system adapts. People become programmed, conditioned to keep a second line open, a second source of dopamine, a second just in case. Not always consciously, not always maliciously, but the outcome is brutal. When someone uses backups to regulate their anxiety, you become the price they don't want to pay. Because real intimacy requires closing doors. Let's dissect it like a surgeon, because this isn't mystical, it's an emotional mechanism. Mechanism 1. Validation pipelines, dopamine supply. Backups often start as harmless attention, ADM here, a heart reaction there, an old flame checking in. Dopamine doesn't care if it's serious, it cares if it's unpredictable. Intermittent attention is the strongest reinforcement schedule in behavioral psychology. So the person keeps checking, not because they're in love with the backup, but because the backup keeps their nervous system fed. Mechanism 2. Attachment strategy. Anxious versus avoidant. Some people keep backups because they're anxious. They fear loss, so they build a safety net. Other people keep backups because they're avoidant. They fear being trapped, so they keep an exit warm. Either way, the backup isn't romance, it's regulation. Mechanism 3. Power through ambiguity. Ambiguity creates leverage. If you are fully committed and she isn't, the power tilts. Not because she's a villain, because the one who can leave has the advantage. The backup is a silent threat the relationship can feel but never prove. Mechanism 4. Social proof addiction. External interest becomes a mirror. If others want me, I must be valuable. So even when you love her cleanly, she still wants to be wanted elsewhere, because it calms the deeper fear. What if I'm not enough? Mechanism 5. Identity protection, not being dependent. Modern culture shames vulnerability, so people protect their identity by staying semi-detached. I'm not the type who needs anyone. I'm not getting played. I always have options. And brother, that posture kills intimacy, because love requires risk. Now let's make this practical. Because the danger isn't just that backups exist. The danger is that you ignore the signs, then blame yourself for the outcome. Here are behavioral examples you can observe. Example 1. Sudden privacy escalation. Phone flips over, notifications hidden, password changes. Not because privacy is wrong, but because the timing is loud. Example 2. Orbiters kept alive. A friend who clearly wants her. An ex who checks in. A male confidant who appears every time you fight. Example 3. Post-conflict social glow. You argue, and instead of repair, she becomes more online, more visible, more socially activated. Example 4. Boundary language used as a weapon. When you ask for clarity, you get character attacks. You're insecure, you're controlling. Healthy boundaries don't require shaming you for reasonable questions. Example 5. Commitment asymmetry. You're expected to act like a husband. Time, effort, emotional availability, while she keeps the relationship structurally optional. And here's the internal warning sign nobody teaches men. You start monitoring her attention like a stock chart. Your mood rises with her warmth, crashes with her distance. That's not love. That's a nervous system hostage situation. Let me give you 3 scenarios. Not because they're rare, because they're common. Case study 1. The soft backup. You're exclusive, or so you think. She's not cheating, but there's a guy in the background. He likes her stories fast. He replies instantly. He shows up right after your arguments. She says, he's just a friend. And you want to believe her, because you don't want to become the insecure man you swore you'd never be. Then one night you see her smile at her phone in a way she hasn't smiled at you in weeks. That's the moment you realize you're not losing her to a man. You're losing her to a feeling, the feeling of being effortlessly desired. Case study 2. The man who pretended it didn't matter. This guy sees it, he feels it, but he pretends it's fine because admitting it would force a decision. He tells himself, men and women can be friends. I'm not controlling. I'm above jealousy. But inside, his self-respect is bleeding. He starts bargaining with reality. He becomes agreeable, then resentful, then quiet, then explosive. And eventually, he does the one thing that guarantees he loses. He begs for clarity. And she gives him the soft exit. You deserve someone better. Case study 3. The grounded man. This man sees the signs early. He doesn't rage. He doesn't accuse. He doesn't interrogate her phone like a detective. He states reality. I like you. I'm not doing a relationship with orbiters and ambiguity. If you want something serious, we build it clean. If not, no hard feelings. Then he watches behavior. Not promises, not excuses. Behavior. And if she won't close the exits, he leaves. No speech, no punishment, just dignity. That's the difference between a man with standards and a man with fear. Now zoom out, because this doesn't happen in a vacuum. The attention economy rewards what is new, what is intense, what is easy. Dating apps turn human beings into options, and when options are visible, commitment feels expensive. So people unconsciously adopt a strategy. Keep things warm enough to maintain access, but vague enough to preserve freedom. And the cultural script applauds it. Avoidance gets rebranded as self-care. Ambiguity gets rebranded as finding myself. I'm not saying people are evil. I'm saying incentives shape behavior. And when the incentive is maximize options, minimize obligation, you get relationships that collapse the moment they require courage. Here's how the collapse happens. Not dramatically, quietly. It starts with you betraying small parts of yourself. You cancel plans to be available. You accept disrespect because you fear loss. You offer more and more, hoping guilt will bring her back. You start living for her mood. And that's when you lose. Because the moment your emotional stability depends on her behavior, you hand her the steering wheel. And once she feels that dependence, something changes. Not because you're not human, but because you're not grounded. Grounded men are attractive because they're safe. Not safe like predictable, safe like solid. Then comes the destruction point. You send the big message, the essay, the heart on the table, the please tell me what's wrong. And she replies with softness, "You're such a good person." Brother, when you get called a good person in the middle of distance, it's often a funeral, a way of ending it without looking like the villain. Then she disappears in slow motion, and you sit with the most humiliating pain a man can feel. Not heartbreak, replaceability. Here's the bitter truth. You cannot negotiate desire. You can't talk someone into consistency. You can't explain someone into respecting you. You can't love someone into emotional maturity. And another truth. Sometimes the backups aren't about you at all. They're about her relationship to intimacy. Fear of being swallowed. Fear of being hurt. Addiction to novelty. Inability to hold steady when things become real. But here's the truth that saves men. Even if her behavior isn't your fault, your response determines whether you keep your dignity. Because chasing turns love into a transaction, and the price is your self-respect. Now we build the antidote. Not game, not manipulation, not coldness. Discipline. Step 1. The one question standard. Clarity without interrogation. I like you. Are we building something exclusive and clean, or not? Then stop. Let reality answer. Step 2. Define what clean means. No emotional outsourcing to orbiters, no secret pipelines, no exes in the shadows during conflict. You're not controlling her, you're controlling your availability. Step 3. Watch behavior, not promises. Warmth without consistency is bait. Consistency is the currency, not apologies, not excuses. Step 4. Calm boundaries spoken once. No heat, no insults, no pleading. If this continues, I'm out. No hard feelings. I don't do limbo. Step 5. Restore your frame. Training, work, friends, sleep, purpose. A man with a mission is harder to destabilize. Step 6. Choose capacity over chemistry. Chemistry is cheap. Character is rare. Vet for repair, accountability, and steadiness under stress. Because the goal isn't to keep someone who's leaving. The goal is to become the kind of man who doesn't abandon himself to be chosen. So if you suspect backups, don't become a spy. Don't become a tyrant. Don't become a beggar. Become clear. Because the moment you require clarity, one of two things happens. They step into commitment, or they reveal they were never planning to close the exits. And that's not tragedy. That's freedom.